We back. Now, brothers, what are the main elements or sectors in society that you need to invest in to have a prosperous and stable nation? Number one, you need to invest in your economic development, right? You need to diversify your economy. You need to invest in your infrastructure. You need to invest in your agriculture. You need to enhance your trade and commerce. You need to invest in your education and your human capital. You need to invest in your healthcare and your social welfare. You need to invest in your national security as well as your military. You need to invest in technology. And number one, you need to invest in your media. Media is so important. Look at the most powerful nations in the world and you see that they have a powerful and far-reaching influential media apparatus that promotes their agenda, that promotes their worldview, that promotes their idea of how the world should be. And all powerful nations should have that, right? You need to have your major publications. You need to have your microphone as loud as possible promoting your agenda. That's why we have publications like the New York Times, the Guardian, the Washington Post, the Economics, CNN, BBC News, NPR, Politico, Al Jazeera, Foreign Policy, the Telegraph, etc., etc. And stick with me until the end of the video and you'll understand why I say that. Now, anytime a nation is going to take a military action, you need to have the media publications on your side. It's called having a pretext. You cannot simply take a military action that's going to have deadly consequences without actually setting the stage and informing the public and getting the public on your side. You need to have the consent of the public before you go take a drastic military action that can cause the loss of lives. Now, stick with me. I'm gonna jump into it. Anyways, let's get into today's episode, man. You already know what it is. Let's get into it. Take a look up on the screen. African leaders ordered the activation of standby force to respond to the coup in Niger. Now, we're gonna get to that later on in the video towards the end. Take a look up on the screen. France and Mali suspend issuing visas to each other's citizens amid boiling tensions. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Mali declares the temporary halt of visa issuance to French citizens. This action is taken based on the principle of reciprocity. Diplomats said Thursday that Mali had indefinitely suspended the issuance of visas to French nationals. The military government in Mali responded by freezing new visas for French citizens at its embassy in Paris in an act of reciprocity, the Malian Foreign Ministry said. It said the move was reciprocal after it learned with surprise through the press that the French Foreign Ministry classified Mali in the red zone on the grounds of strong regional tensions. The statement also said that France had suspended the issuance of visas and closed the visa center at its embassy in Bamako, the capital of Mali. France earlier this week also issued a travel guidance update advising that in the current context of strong regional tensions, all travel to Mali is strongly not advised. The strong regional tensions that France cited are related to the situation in Niger, where the military overthrew the president Mohamed Bazoum on July 26. The regional bloc ECOWAS condemned the coup and threatened to intervene militarily to restore order in Niger. However, Mali and Burkina Faso expressed their support for the coup leaders. They said they would stand with Niger. France and Mali had fell out after the military seized power in 2020, ousting the president Ibrahim Keita over failures to stem a deadly militancy and insurgency. French troops withdrew from Mali in 2022 and Burkina Faso in 2023 following military coups. New leadership in Niger could lead to another withdrawal from a country that France has sought as a key ally in the Sahel. France has between 1,000 and 1,500 troops in Niger to fight the so-called war on terrorism. In Niger, there are not only French troops, but American and European soldiers as well. Burkina Faso and Mali have already kicked out French troops, many of whom are now stationed in Niger. The developments come amid a growing wave of anti-French sentiment across the Sahel region, with locals saying they want the foreign colonial power to stop interfering in their affairs. Observers say resentment towards France seems to be coming to a boiling point in Mali, Burkina Faso, and now Niger. France has a long history in West Africa, where it was a colonial power until 1960. I think they should frame the phrase differently. It should say that France has had a presence in West Africa since the 1880s, 1890s. When you say, it was a colonial power until 1960, and you don't talk about when they actually came, it makes it seem like they haven't been here that long, when they've been here for a little while. Now, let's continue. Since independence, France has maintained a military presence in the region, which has caused long-term tensions that now seem to be reaching new heights. Now, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. The High Authority for Audiovisual and Communication in Benin has suspended the press group known as La Gazette du Golfe for allegedly promoting a coup d'etat. This decision comes in response to the group's coverage of recent events in Niger. Now, I'm assuming this is a publication that has been, showing some solidarity or support for the coup leaders in Niger. And the government in Benin has decided to terminate that publication because, you're putting ideas into the minds of the people, right? You're putting ideas into the minds of the military, of the citizens. And I'm sure there's definitely some anti-French sentiment in Benin, absolutely, because when the French came to Benin, I mean, they put everybody to the sword when they invaded Benin. They put black men, black women, black children. The French were absolutely ruthless in their conquest and invasion of modern day Benin. I mean, it didn't matter who was in front of them. They were going to take anybody's life, bro. From the 14-year-old girls to the elders. It didn't matter. So you goddamn right. There's definitely some anti-French sentiment up in Benin. Now let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. The 14th Emir of Kano State, Mahamadou Sanusi, meets with the military government in Niger. This is after the military government had aborted a meeting with representatives from the African Union, ECOWAS, and a top U.S. diplomat. Now, keep in mind, the military government in Niger, like the headline says, they rejected meetings from the African Union. They rejected meetings from ECOWAS. They rejected meeting with the top U.S. diplomat, Victoria Nuland. But they opened the door and they decided to meet this gentleman right here, Mahamadou Sanusi. And the reason why that is keep in mind, I'm not a Nigerian, so I'm not super familiar with the ins and outs and the intricacies of Nigerian culture. So get in the comment section and correct me if I'm wrong. I just have a general understanding. I believe an emir is a man of high rank, high influence and power in Hausa Fulani culture. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. So keep in mind, the military government in Niger is majority Hausa Fulani men. Keep in mind, they share a border with Nigeria. And in northern Nigeria, it's heavily populated by Hausa Fulani men. So this is a gentleman from northern Nigeria, a emir of Kano State. Kano State is a region in northern Nigeria. And they opened the door to meet with him. But they decided that they're not going to meet with the AU. They're not going to meet with ECOWAS. They're not going to meet with the United States. But they're going to meet with the high-ranking men of their own culture, of their own society, of their own ethnic group. You gotta respect that. You gotta respect that. Now, this brother right here, he said it the best. Take a look up on the screen. They will not speak French or English at this meeting. They will speak Hausa. Reminder, the European powers drew artificial lines in the sand at the 1884 Berlin Conference, but our history is a lot older than that. Yes, indeed. Now let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. ECOWAS has commanded the activation of the ECOWAS standby force to reinstate order in Niger. ECOWAS leaders say all options are open in Niger, including the use of force. The West African bloc has activated the standby force for possible Niger military intervention, but says that it wants a peaceful restoration of democracy. West African heads of state have said all options, including the use of force, remain on the table to restore order in Niger after the July 26 coup d'etat, and ordered the activation of its standby force. The remarks came as the 15-member Economic Community of West African States met in Nigeria's Abuja on Thursday for an emergency summit to discuss responses to last month's military takeover in Niger after the coup leaders defied their earlier threat to use force to restore democracy. In closing remarks, the bloc pledged to enforce sanctions and travel bans on those preventing the return of power to the democratically elected president Mohamed Bazoum. No option is taken off the table, including the use of force as a last resort. Nigeria's President Tinubu, at the end of the summit, that's what he said. We remain steadfast in our commitment to supporting Niger in the journey towards peaceful democratic stability, he also said. I hope that through our collective effort, we can bring about a peaceful resolution as a roadmap to restoring stability and democracy in Niger. Since the July 26 overthrow of Niger's leadership, the coup plotters have refused to relinquish power and release Mohamed Bazoum, ignoring an August 6 deadline to reinstate him. After Tinubu spoke, an official communication was read out, which included a resolution asking the bloc's defense chiefs to activate the standby force with all its elements immediately. Now, on this page, I'm going to start with the second paragraph. ECOWAS defense chiefs last week drew up plans for possible military intervention in Niger, which the heads of state discussed during Thursday's summit. The summit communication gave no indication of when or under what circumstances a deployment within Niger might take place. It is unclear if there were any representatives from Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Mali, whose military heads of state have sided with Niger. However, the presidents of Mauritania and Burundi were also in attendance, according to Al Jazeera. Idris said a source close to one of the mediation missions sent to Niger told Al Jazeera that the coup leaders want sanctions eased to aid the flow of medicine and food supplies and the restoration of electricity. If the coup is allowed to succeed, it could dent the image of ECOWAS and make it look weak, and that could pose a serious threat to democracy, something that leaders here are eager to avoid. Now, I said this, bro. I said this. This is the second time that something I said on my tiny channel has been repeated on the major Western publications, man. I'm telling you, man. I'm just a regular black man sitting at the house, man. Man, I'm about to go fry up some eggs. I'm just a regular brother, man. But look at this excellent political analysis that I'll be dropping at the Western powers be coming after me and repeating the same shit. Let's continue. The bloc also said it would enforce all measures, in particular, border closures, travel bans, and asset freezes on all persons and groups of individuals whose actions hinder the peaceful efforts in ensuring the smooth and complete restoration of constitutional order. Earlier, Sadiq Shehu, a security analysis and adjunct professor at the Marshall European Center for Security Studies, said the ball was in ECOWAS's court after the coup leaders had called the bluff on the bloc's 7-day deadline. Yeah, they called their bluff for real. Hey, now them boys gonna have to defend the power. Like I've been saying, it's one thing to grab some power. It's one thing to establish some power. Anybody can wake up on any random day and grab some power. But then you gotta defend the power, right? Once they start coming for you now, once they try to come for your spot, now that you got the power, can you defend the power? Now we are going to see what the military government in Niger is really made of. We've seen Mali and Burkina Faso been able to stand against the threats of the Western powers. But now, is Niger going to be able to stand against the oncoming blizzard attack, the oncoming blitz that's going to come from ECOWAS, the United States, France, the goddamn Tuaregs? Bro, it's from all sides, all corners of the globe, about to descend upon Niger. Bro, let's go. Now, let's continue. A lot is at stake because the way things are, people are really concerned about the spat of coups in West Africa, 5 in less than 3 years, in Burkina Faso and Mali. Democratic timelines have been shifted several times, and now we have Niger. The situation in those countries has emboldened the coup leaders in Niger and could encourage ambitious soldiers elsewhere to take up arms and overthrow democratic governments. Now, to be honest, how I see it, I think that Niger, they're going to go overkill on Niger, right? Just to make a statement, right? Just to make a statement because, like they said, a lot of governments, especially in Francophone West Africa, have been overthrown, right? A lot of leaders have been, told to get the fuck home. France has been kicked out of many countries. So now that we have Niger, a major strategic asset, a major asset that many international powers cannot afford to live without. They are willing to mobilize troops to maintain it within 2 weeks. That's how quick they're ready to mobilize troops. That's how much of a strategic asset it is. And if you go back to the days of colonization and slavery, right? Just to make a statement, the European colonists, right? Whenever there was rebellion on a plantation, they had to make a statement just to make sure that those who were still on the plantation, they didn't get any ideas. So what they would do is they would round up a bunch of innocent people who didn't do anything. A bunch of people who didn't do shit. They would round them up and they would just massacre like 100 people, 200 people. Even though it was only like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people that did anything, they were going to punish like over 100 people just to make a statement, right? So now, in my opinion, I think they're going to go overkill on Niger just to make a statement. And keep in mind, stay with me to the end of the video. I'm going to show you the pretext that they're using just to justify any drastic military action that could lead to a catastrophe and a disaster. I'm going to show you the pretext they are now lining up. Let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. Just take a look up on the screen. Now, going back to what I said in the beginning of the video, a powerful nation, besides investing into your infrastructure, your agriculture, your technology, your education, your healthcare, your social welfare, etc., you need to invest in your media. You need to invest in your media to make sure that you control your narrative. Because as it stands right now, the Western powers, they have the biggest microphone. They got the biggest bullhorn. They control the narrative. Whether it's true or false, we'll never know, but they control the narrative. And they can put out whatever pretext they want, whatever headline they want to manufacture consent for any military action, any economic action they're going to take against a foreign nation. Now, let's take a look at the headline. The headline says, the military government in Niger allegedly told a top U.S. diplomat that they would assassinate President Mohamed Bazoum if neighboring countries attempted any military intervention to restore his rule, according to 2 Western officials. According to some mysterious Western officials, the military government in Niger, they allegedly told a mysterious U.S. diplomat that they're going to assassinate Mohamed Bazoum. Now, if you're asking my opinion, I don't think they said that, bro. I don't think they said that. Because if they really plan to do it, you wouldn't tell a U.S. diplomat. You wouldn't tell the United States that. Why would you tell the United States that? That doesn't make any sense. Keep in mind, when Victoria Nuland had flew to Niger the other day, Victoria Nuland, the top U.S. diplomat, she said that she didn't even get to meet or speak to Mohamed Bazoum or the military leader or the head man in charge. She didn't even get to speak with him. She ended up speaking to the third in command or the fourth in command or the second in command. And I highly doubt that the fourth in command or the third in command or the second in command when he met with Victoria Nuland, he told Victoria Nuland, yeah, we're going to assassinate Mohammed Bazoum. Something in me tells me that that's not what he said. I don't think he said, I don't think they said that, bro. If you're asking me, and it's just my opinion, keep in mind, this entire series, I'm just giving my analysis, my viewpoint on the situation, man. That's all I'm saying, right? I think that they're manufacturing consent. They're providing cover for ECOWAS in case any disaster happens, in case any disaster like in Libya, happens. They have cover by saying, listen, we were trying to rescue a democratically elected president. We were trying to save him and his family's life. His life was in danger. That's why we had to bomb Niger back into a parking lot. We had to bomb Niger back into the Stone Age because Mohammed Bazoum was in danger. And Mohammed Bazoum was elected democratically, and we had to enforce democracy. That's why we had to drop a bunch of missiles all over Niger, and a bunch of innocent women and children ended up getting hurt because we had to save Mohammed Bazoum. This is what you call manufacturing consent through the media. So whenever the average citizen reads a headline in the future, like next week, and finds out that a bunch of innocent people lost their lives, you can sit back and be relaxed because you can say, well, we were trying to enforce democracy. We were trying to save Mohammed Bazoum. But keep in mind, like I said, in my opinion, I don't think this is true. But like I said, when you don't have a media apparatus that is equivalent to the Western powers, when you don't have your own version of Washington Post, of the New York Times, of the Associated Press, of BBC, of NPR, when you don't have your own versions of these things, the Western powers are the ones that end up controlling the narrative because they're the ones who got the money to push their narrative straight to the sky. They're the ones who have the reach and the influence to spread their message and agenda across the world, right? The military government in Niger, they're putting out little announcements. They're putting out little videos on Twitter, but you don't got the reach of the Western media apparatus, bruh. You don't got the reach. So they could put out a crazy headline against you, whether it's true or false, and they can manufacture consent to do anything they want. In my opinion, this headline right here is manufacturing consent for ECOWAS to go in and go crazy. In my opinion, right? Like I said, I'm just sharing my opinion on the situation. You might think differently. Now let's continue. Now, due to the fact that I think this article is BS, I'm going to put the word allegedly before some phrases and statements just because I don't think it's true. But anyways, let's jump into the article. The military government in Niger allegedly told a top U.S. diplomat that they would assassinate President Mohammed Bazoum if neighboring countries attempted any military intervention to restore his rule, according to Western officials. They spoke to the AP shortly before the West African bloc ECOWAS said it had directed the deployment of a standby force to restore democracy in Niger, without giving details about its makeup, location, or proposed state of deployment. Representatives of the military government in Niger allegedly told U.S. Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland of the threat to Bazoum during her visit to the country this week, a Western military official said. Now keep in mind, all of this news is coming from mysterious Western officials who don't want to come out and expose themselves. So we don't know if it's, like I said, this shit could be completely bullshit. They're just saying some mysterious Western officials had said this. Meanwhile, keep in mind, Victoria Nuland, she never met Bazoum and she never met the new president of Niger. She only met some military leaders lower on the rank. So at the end of the day, whatever information that she allegedly has, she did not mention this earlier in the week. In my opinion, like I said, this is how you manufacture consent through the media. It's not the first time the United States has done this. Remember the weapons of mass destruction, 9/11, things like that. You have to manufacture consent in order to take military action. You cannot simply jump out the window with military action without manufacturing consent of your citizens, especially since most times it's going to be their tax dollars that's going to be used to fund these overseas military operations and foreign military expeditions. Now let's continue. A U.S. official confirmed the account, also speaking on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak to the media. Now, if you ask me, I don't think this U.S. official even exists. I think it's just the U.S. State Department just putting out some breadcrumbs to the media to push a certain narrative in order to justify military action. That's my opinion, right? That's my opinion. I think that the military government in Niger is a little more sophisticated than just jumping out the window talking about we're going to assassinate the president, because I'm sure they got advice from the other military leaders in Burkina Faso, in Mali, and they never jumped out the window saying any of that crazy shit. So I don't think they said that, bro. I mean, because even if they were going to do that, that's not something you would expose directly to the United States government. Like, we're going to go tell the U.S. government that we're going to, no, stop it, bro. Stop it. Keep in mind, they're not at war with the U.S. government. They're at war with France. They're having problems with France. So for them to go tell the U.S. government that we're going to go, it doesn't make sense, man. And that's my opinion. You might believe it's true, but I don't think it's true, man. Like, come on, bro. That doesn't even make any sense. But anyways, it's your boy Never Card Desaline back in the building. Yes, indeed. Cash App up on the screen. And I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left on a horse and came back in that ass. And I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas. Falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching, he blocking my vision. Pay for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This shit is an art, and they could never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so at least. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands, cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.